So I want to make a quick little video on the situation with Shaahida in the last video that I posted with Shaahida. I went through the comments and a lot of people thought it was a scam. A lot of people thought I shouldn't have done what I did. If I had to do it over again, I'd do the same thing. There's a lot around that situation that can't be grasped from that 10-minute video. So I'll take it back a little bit and explain a little bit what went on that day. First and foremost, I feel as though I made the right situation. I feel as though if that would have been one of your family members, if that would have been your daughter, your son, your mother, your sister, one of your loved ones, I think that those of you that had negative stuff to say would have been thanking me, and I had family members from her family members reach out and thank me also. So it's a tough one. First of all, a lot of people were saying, I didn't know they give out credit, drug dealers and stuff, and that's not the situation. Nobody gave her credit. The situation that had happened is in Philadelphia, those that have drug blocks, it's extremely organized. It's not disorganized at all. It's extremely organized. From the people selling on the blocks to the caseworkers. Caseworkers would be a management position, okay? The money from the drugs that are being sold are turned into the caseworker, and that's how they get more drugs, all right? So the situation with her was that the block that she owed the money to, there was a lot of arrests being made around the time that the situation that she incurred the debt, right? So when the block is hot and people are getting arrested and there's more cops out than normal, the block doesn't shut down. They'll just put people that are expendable to work. 9 times out of 10, that's the drug addicts. They'll ask them, look, you want to make a couple extra dollars? And of course, a drug addict being in need of money will accept that, 9 times out of 10. So that's what happened. The drug dealers on the block asked her if she would like to make some money. So she accepted the proposition, started selling drugs. And then what happened is, and which happens a lot, is the people that are supposed to be supervising her while she's selling drugs, because the block is hot, they get out of the way. They'll go in a house, they'll disappear, and come back and collect their money later on. Or they'll leave a phone with the individual and say, call me when your package is done, all right? And what was told to me by both her and them was that she walked off without paying them. So she either took the drugs or the money or a little bit of both. And granted, I wasn't there, so it could be a setup. But you also have to think on how many different ways that could go wrong if it was a setup, okay? The debt that was incurred, it wasn't a whole lot of money, and it wasn't also a little bit of money. What I gave them to take her that day was not even a quarter of what was owed. So we have to take these things into consideration before we come up with our opinions. How many ways could that have gone wrong on their part? Okay, let's say if they were in on it, if Shaahida was in with the people, and they said, we're just going to try to get Frank to pay this. First of all, I had spoke to her a couple times throughout the day, and we were supposed to meet up, but it was Christmas Day. So I had family stuff to tend to that day. So we were supposed to meet up at 4 o'clock. We didn't end up meeting up until 11 o'clock. I told her, once I got the vibe that something wasn't right, I told her I wasn't around. Okay? So she had no idea that I would even help her out financially to get her out of that situation, number one. Number two is she didn't even know that I was in Philly when I got the last phone call from her. And number three is the people that were holding her. What if I would have decided to call the cops, right? So if I would have decided to call the cops like a lot of people suggested, that stuff could have went completely wrong for them. For, in essence, what would have been $100, that could have went completely wrong for them. The reason that I sympathized with her and felt for her situation is because many times my sister has been in that same situation, okay? Many times I have been in that situation where when I was hustling, I would put people to work for me, knowing that I probably shouldn't because they're drug addicts and they're suffering, with their addiction, and knowing that it's probably not going to work out the way I want it to, right? So there's been times where I put people to work and things didn't work out the right way. And now I'm doing the same thing they did. There's been times where people have owed me money and I've thrown them in the car and told them, you're not getting out of this car until you call somebody and come up with my money. All right? And at the time while I'm doing that, I don't see it for as serious of a situation as it is. Not knowing what I'm doing is I'm sort of kidnapping somebody. I'm holding them against their will and making them come up with some money to pay me, and then I'll let them go. All right? I don't see it. I didn't see it like that when I was doing it, though, when I've done that. And people that have sold drugs, there's a lot of them that has happened to. People, in the drug business, people owe money. So what do we do to get that money back? There's either one of two things. You can either put your hands on them and physically cause some type of injury to them. But a lot of times, once you put your hands on them physically, in my book, the debt's paid. You can't put your hands on them and expect to collect the debt at the same time. That's not really how it works. So when I got with her, when she got in the car, physically, somebody put their hands on her. It was visible. I could see that by looking at her face, that somebody put their hands on her. Secondly, also, that I didn't just pay the debt and put her in a car and she leave. We were together for, an hour and a half, 2 hours after that, just speaking. And, it's a shame, but like I said, in my heart, I don't think it was a ploy to get a couple dollars. $100 to an addict is a decent amount of money. $100 to people that are selling drugs and making, on a corner in Philly, you can make tens of thousands of dollars a night. That's nothing, So we have to take all those things into account. And like I said, my sister's been in those situations where she's owed people money. So I think that's why I identify and I put myself out there the way I did. My wife, she was upset at the time. We were staying at an Airbnb in Philly, and she was upset. She was pissed off. It was Christmas night, and she didn't want me to go. She was worried. She was nervous. And that was the main reason why I recorded. And I didn't show it. I cut that part out. I recorded their phone number that they were calling from. And I got them on video, but I deleted that, It's a situation. A lot of people were like, you should have called the cops. Listen, the cops in Philly, I could have called them and they wouldn't have responded to that type of call. Okay? If I would have told them, look, somebody's being held captive because they owe drug money, that would have been it. They wouldn't have responded. There's plenty of times that I've called them for overdoses. they don't respond. You literally have to say somebody got shot to get them to respond to an overdose. All right. So that's some of the reasoning behind me doing that night. I've had, since then, I've spoken to her numerous times. I've had her family members reach out and thanking me for that, and going as far as even to repay the money that was spent that night, which didn't have to be done. So, you know, whether it was a scam, which I said it very well could have been, but there's a lot more behind that situation than a lot of people know. Also, about 4 weeks prior to that, I had been talking with Shaahida. We were just talking. I bought her something to eat, and we were just speaking. And 4 individuals came up to her and basically tried to take her away from me speaking to her. It was me, her, and 2 other people we were speaking. And they were trying to collect on that same debt. It was the same people. They were trying to collect on that debt. And she had explained to me what happened. All right. And I told them, I said, look, whatever's going on, it can't go on right now. I can't allow you guys to take her. And so you guys are going to have to catch up with her either later on or another time. And for whatever reason, you know, they left and we all went our separate ways that day. It just so happened that this night they caught up to her. All right. So it was, you know, like I said, if it was a scam, it was a long con for $100. You know, and they didn't just choose Shaahida out of the blue. She was working on the block and left with the money. This is something that commonly happens, extremely common in Philly or anywhere when you're dealing with people selling drugs. All right. So it's just a little more insight. The video that I posted was about 10 minutes of an 1.5-hour video. So I will be posting the other parts to it, you know, but that's just the way it was. So I just asked you guys to think about that. If it was your family member, if it was your mother, if it was your daughter, if it was your son, if it was one of your loved ones, would you have wanted me to do that? I'm sure the answer would be yes. And like I said, I stand on my decision firmly, and I'd do it all over again, you know, for anybody, not just for her, but for anybody. I would do it all over again. And like I said, that night, somebody put their hands on her, all right? And that was very evident when I got her in the car and spoke to her and looked at her face. So that's the reason behind my decision, you know. And I made this video, not that I feel that I owe anybody an explanation, but I feel like we have a strong family, a community on this channel and in the chats. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an explanation, you know. So I thank you guys for listening, and hopefully maybe this shines a different light on it. And with the rest of the video that I put out, you'll be able to see a little bit more. And think about that. I ask you guys, everybody that prays, pray for that young lady. She needs all the prayers she can get, along with everybody else that we interview and everybody else that's down there in Kensington. The price of life is very, very, very cheap down there. Price of life is cheap. People have been killed for less. All right? So, thank you.